Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today, recently, it has been announced that the most expensive defender in history, Harry Maguire, has been made permanent manager for Manchester United. Right, so straight off, this isn't me having a dig at the fact he cost £80 million plus add-ons from Leicester, or having a go at their poor form of recent, or the fact that they didn't perform brilliantly for their 2-0 loss against Liverpool yesterday. This is me just giving my honest opinion on him being captain and comparing him to the most recent Man United captains and other captains in the Premier League. Right, so if we sidetrack from the fact that he did cost that figure and to the fact that he wears the number 5 shirt, which was last worn by club legend and I think captain as well, Rio Ferdinand, and the fact of course Harry Maguire is now captain. So, what's my opinion on this decision? I feel as though this could be the start of something big for Man United. No, I've not gone crazy. It's just how I feel. It's a very bold move, a bold decision. But if we just compare it briefly to previous most recent captains for Man United, i.e. Paul Pogba, seemed great at first, but he's been picking up injuries here and there and clearly doesn't even want to be seen dead at the club, which isn't particularly helped by his so-called agent, Mino Raiola, or whatever his name is. David De Gea, again, a great decision at first, but through the lacklustre form in recent games, apart from their 2-1 win against Man City at the Etihad, which they clearly wanted more than us, they performed in that game like their lives depended on it compared to us. It just seems so unmotivated, unenthusiastic about playing for the club through their poor form, despite, I'd say in my opinion, him being in the top 5 goalies in the world currently. He'll probably come 5th, but regardless, he is still one of the best of this world, the football world, has to offer. Ashley Young, well, he's clearly just cleared off to Inter Milan, so we won't really include him. Rashford, he's a bit too young, I'd say, for the status of captaincy at the club, and he's a bit too much of a wannabe Ronaldo. So for me, Rashford was not a good appointment as captain. But back to Maguire. I'm going to say this, I'm going to call it now. Give it at least 2 years, at least 2 years of him being captain. He might just help United get back on track with their form. Not quite Sir Alex Ferguson, let's just get that straight. It's not going to be quite Sir Alex Ferguson sort of form. More so Mourinho level, where they try to compete for top 4, potentially win some silverware. Obviously I want City. Of course I want City to be more dominant in tournaments like the Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao, Champions League, whatever. But it would just be more interesting to have more pressure and competition in these tournaments as a football fan. So that's where I see it, that's how I'm going to call it with Maguire. Give it at least 2 years. Maguire will be doing something special at Man United. We've spoken about Man United's captain scenario, but now we're going to discuss all the other clubs in the Premier League briefly with their captains, and I'm going to give them a score out of 10. Arsenal. Granit Xhaka was first appointed as captain there this season. He won a player's vote as skipper, despite getting criticism from the fans, especially in his performances, and particularly in his performance where he was booed off by his own fans at home when he was subbed off in their 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace. Obviously we all know how he took it, of course not very well. But right now is currently Aubameyang, who is captain at the club. Again, sort of similar pressure with Maguire, as Aubameyang is wearing the number 14 shirt originally worn by club captain and invincible Henry. So there's a bit of pressure there for Aubameyang, but so far it hasn't been too bad, so I'd give him a 6.5 out of 10. Aston Villa. Jack Grealish has been fairly decent for the club. 21 games, 7 goals, 5 assists. Some of them were either crucial or somewhat world class for his calibre of play. Despite picking up 6 yellow cards this season, I will give him 7 out of 10. On to Bournemouth. Captain Simon Francis. He's been at the club for, and I quote from Bournemouth website, 8 successful years. I'm pretty sure he's been there ever since they were in the Football League 2 as well. So he's a very committed sort of player for the club. However, they are playing relegation football at the moment this season. a million miles away from where they were last season and could very well go down to the Championship. So overall, 4 out of 10. Burnley. Originally it was Tom Heaton, but now he's gone to Aston Villa, who is currently Ben Mee. They are sitting 14th in the Premier League with a record of 8, 3 and 12. Not too bad form, not quite the form in the season where they finished 5th, but regardless, I'd say it's pretty decent. I like Sean Dyche, so it's a 6 out of 10 for Burnley. Brighton Hove Albion, Lewis Dunk is their current club captain, 15th in the Premier League, with only a couple points off relegation. Could very well just about stay at the skin of their teeth. It's a very and ahhing sort of decision whether they could stay up or go down. They got a couple of draws recently, the odd win here and there, but overall I'd give it a 5 out of 10 for Lewis Dunk. On to Crystal Palace, their captain Luka Miljovic has been very important for the club. They could very well finish above 10th, possibly 9th or 8th. They did put a good show against Man City. I believe it was at the Etihad recently, where we drew 2-2 to them. He's been a good leader, a consistent finisher from the penalty spot. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. So far, Luka Miljovic has got the highest rating in my opinion. On to Chelsea. Their captain, Azpilicueta, I believe, has had that armband, the captain's armband, since John Terry. A brilliant leader for the club, a very important asset for this very young team, and also their young manager Frank Lampard, who also played alongside Azpilicueta. It's a shame about their 1-0 loss against Newcastle, but overall they've been fairly decent. Might just finish 4th this season. So overall I'm going to give Azpilicueta as captain an 8 out of 10. On to Everton. I believe it's Seamus Coleman at the moment, after the departure of Phil Jagielka, who was at the club for 12 years. That's just commitment at its finest. They've been all over the place, not just with results but also with management as well. Of course, their previous manager did get sacked, Marco Silva. Spent big, didn't really get much. So far, for their captain Seamus Coleman, it's a 5 out of 5, 5.5 out of 10 for me. On to Leicester. Wes Morgan is their captain. They've been in fine form, beating Southampton 9-0, battling in amongst the top 4, potentially finishing ahead of City. A couple of losses here and there against City, Liverpool, Burnley, but regardless, Wes Morgan 8 out of 10, especially when you consider that, of course, Mahrez is gone, Kante is gone. Leicester are still doing brilliantly. On to the current leaders, Liverpool. Henderson, he's been at the club for I don't know how many years. He took the armband from Steven Gerrard, took the reins. For how many years he's been there, like I said, he's literally gone from 0 to hero. They've taken the league by storm. They'll probably most likely go undefeated this season. And I've seen rumoured on BBC Sport that they could be crowned Premier League champions. That's either Goodison or the Etihad Stadium. Henderson, it's a 10 out of 10. Moving on to Manchester City. Ever since Kompany has left, it's been a whirlwind of ups and downs for the club. We're in worse form in 23 games this season than we were in the whole 38 games of last season. Fernandinho, despite that, he has been a very good, worthy captain. He's been sort of like Swiss cheese at the back. Regardless of that, he has been filling in the role, very good as captain, and also that void left by Laporte in defence. At times there has also been David Silva, who was originally named club captain for this season, which is his last season as a citizen. But for Fernandinho and David Silva, 9 out of 10 for me. On to Norwich. Despite a promising start to the season where they were in fairly good form, of course Pookie was scoring for fun. They are currently stone dead last, 20th at the bottom of the Premier League, having only won 4 out of 23 games. Captain Ben Godfrey committing a stupid challenge against Bournemouth. And to be honest, they were lucky to win that game. 3 out of 10 for me. On to Newcastle. Jamal Lascelles is their captain. It surprised us all really, because no one really expected for them to be 12th where they are at the moment, especially with the newly appointed manager Steve Bruce, who only managed their rival club Sunderland, having worse form. I think it was the worst percentage win for a manager in Premier League history. Can't remember what the number was, but I'm pretty sure it was a 2-digit number and it started with the number 1. But despite that, it's been fairly decent, fairly promising. Lascelles has been hugely important as club captain in Newcastle's hopes of staying in the Premiership, despite criticism. 7 out of 10 for me. Southampton, Pierre-Emile Holberg, the form's not been too bad. 2 wins out in their previous 3 in the Premier League this calendar year. They could very well finish 13th where they are currently. Despite that, I'm still giving them a mediocre 5 out of 10. Sheffield United, their captain Billy Sharp. They are loving life so far in the Prem. They're very much on that sort of stature that Wolves were last season when they came in and just took the league by storm. They could probably finish in Europa spot, maybe even Champions League spot if they carry on the way they're going. Leadership from their skipper and the guidance from former Northampton Town manager Chris Wilder. But for Billy Sharp, it's an 8.5 out of 10. Spurs, Tottenham Hotspurs, the bottle jobs as they're known as. Hugo Lloris, of course, is injured at the moment, so it's currently Yang Tongan. A promising start for life at Tottenham for Mourinho. A bit shaky recently, so probably finished comfortably in Europa. That's not what their board wants, what Daniel Levy wants, what Mourinho or the captain for Tongan wants. But still, I'd give him a 6 out of 10. Could do better. On to Watford. Troy Deeney, their captain. He's always consistent. Like, for a club like Watford, who, let's put it this way, I'm going to be challenging for the Prem anytime soon, they always are fairly consistent. He's always been a reliable player, reliable captain for the club, getting them wins, keeping Watford's Premier League chances alive, despite at one point this season having more managers than wins. But still, just like Spurs, I'd give him a 6 out of 10. And Troy Deeney is an unsung hero for the Hornets and for the Premier League. On to West Ham. Their captain, Mark Noble. Same old story for them, with losses outweighing their wins. In my opinion, they could very well finish 15th or 16th where they currently are at the moment, if they carry on like this. But for Mark Noble, for me, 5 out of 10. A real shame, as they do have decent players in their squad that are just not performing at their absolute best. But finally though, catching my breath, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers. Their captain, Liverpool-born Connor Cody, has been very good this season. Not quite as overpowering as last season, where I'm pretty sure they finished, I think it was 6th or 5th, something like that. And regardless of that, they've still been fairly consistent. Yes, they did lose 5-3 to Chelsea at one point, but it's still really annoying that they did beat us twice this season, twice in one season, for the first time I believe since the 1998-99 season, and we were both in the Championship at that point. But overall, for Connor Cody and for Wolves, I will give them an 8 out of 10. But that's all, I'm going to wrap it all up. Of course, I've been through all the Premier League teams, giving my opinions on it, and my opinions on Harry Maguire being named permanent captain for Manchester United. Get your thoughts in the comments as to what you think to this. If you have enjoyed, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bizzle.